You know that phrase, the apple of his eye? It's it's one of those things you hear all the time, right?
Yeah, definitely. Usually about someone really cherished.
Exactly. Maybe a kid or someone you really love. Sounds kind of simple, maybe a bit
Mm.
sentimental.
Mm-hmm. But the origins are actually really old, biblical, and the meaning. Well, that's where it gets interesting. It goes way deeper than just affection.
So that's what we're diving into today, isn't it? We're looking at a specific take on this from a lecture by Neville Goddard.
That's right. We'll explore how he interprets different bits of scripture, all focused on this powerful image.
Okay, so if you've kind of just skimmed past that phrase before, get ready for, well, a totally different viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission really is to unpack what being the apple of God's eye means according to these teachings, and maybe what that means for you personally.
Exactly, the practical side of it too.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so Goddard starts with the Old Testament. Where does this phrase actually pop up? First one he points to is Deuteronomy 32.0, and it's describing how the Lord found Jacob wandering in the desert, and it says, he encircled him, cared for him, kept him as the apple of his eye.
Wow. So right away, it's about intense protection, deep care.
Precisely. Then there's Psalm 17. This time it's David speaking. And David actually asks God, keep me as the apple of your eye.
He asks for it. Interesting. And there's something else there too, right in the next verse.
Yes, exactly. Verse 15, David talks about awakening and being satisfied when he beholds God's form.
Which sort of implies he's asleep now, or in some kind of state before awakening.
That's a connection God really emphasizes, that link between being the apple of the eye and this future awakening.
Okay.
And one more key one, Zechariah 2.8. This one's really strong. He who touches you touches the apple of God's eye.
Oof. That's potent. Like messing with you is messing directly with God's most precious part.
Pretty much. So these Old Testament verses, they carry serious weight. Goddard argues they're pointing to something much, much deeper than just, simple affection.
Because the Bible, as he often says, isn't just surface-level stories. There's always a mystery underneath. So what's the key here? How does he unlock apple of God's eye?
Well, the phrase itself is the first clue. Apple of his eye literally means the pupil.
The pupil, the black center part.
Yeah. Think about it's the focal point, the gateway for vision. It's incredibly precious, instinctively protected. But then he brings in the Hebrew.
Ah, the original language. What does it mean there?
This is really cool. It translates to something like the little man or the little man of the eye, sometimes even the baby of the eye.
The little man of the eye. That conjures up an image, doesn't it? Like when you look really closely into someone's pupil.
Or your own in a mirror, yeah. You see that tiny, tiny reflection of yourself, a miniature you.
Right, the little man. Wow, okay. So how does that connect to God's perspective?
Well, this is Goddard's core idea here. He suggests that when God looks at you, he's not primarily seeing your body or your life circumstances. He's looking through that pupil, that central point, that door or gate. And what does he see reflected back?
Himself?
Exactly. Himself. In miniature. The little man, the baby of the eye, it's his own divine consciousness reflected back.
Whoa. That ties into, isn't there a passage in Amos where the prophet says something like, how can Jacob stand? He's so small.
Yes. Amos 7.2, twice he asks that. And God initially seems to agree. He repents of the judgment. It's like that first reflection God sees appears. Diminished. Small.
So why small initially? Is that the whole story?
No, not at all. Goddard says that perceived smallness isn't the end game. God's whole purpose, he argues, is to expand that little image of himself within us.
Expand it. How?
Through revealing himself in stages. It's like God introduces himself through a series of names, and each name represents a deeper level of understanding, a stage in our comprehension of him.
Okay, like different facets being revealed over time. What's the first stage?
El Shaddai. God Almighty, that's the name revealed way back with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. It's about sheer power, overwhelming might. That's the initial grasp of God.
So at that point, maybe the reflection God sees is primarily one of potential power.
Perhaps. Then comes a major shift. During the Exodus, the revelation of a new name, I am.
I am. That sounds much more immediate, personal.
Exactly. Goddard really stresses this isn't just a title, it's God's core being, his actual self concentrated in that name. It's a huge leap in understanding.
From distant power to present being. Okay. What comes next?
Then we get El Olam, God the Everlasting One, and Goddard connects this to Ecclesiastes 3.11. Remember that verse? He has put eternity Olam into man's heart.
Right. So that sense of the eternal, that's part of us too. reflecting another aspect of God.
It's woven into our minds, even if we can't fully grasp it yet. And then the final revelation.
Father.
Father. For Godhood, this is it. The complete unveiling of God's true character. And importantly, it's known through the Son. He specifically identifies the Son as David.
Okay, we need to unpack that David part later. But this progression, power, presence, eternity, fatherhood, it's like a journey of discovery.
A journey of God revealing more and more of himself within us. And here's the other side of that coin.
Yeah.
Just as God sees himself reflected in us according to the name or nature being revealed, we reflect back whatever God is assuming at that moment. It's a mirror effect, both ways.
A divine mirroring.
Yeah.
How does that play out, like, practically?
Well, Goddard takes it right into our daily lives. He says, if you truly assume a quality within yourself, say, you deeply feel healthy or wealthy or capable, and you live from that feeling, then when you look at someone or interact with them, their reaction, how they perceive you, should eventually mirror that assumption back to you.
So the little man, in their eye, reflects my inner state.
That's the idea. Your assumption expands that reflection. He gives an example, like going to your boss. If you assume you are qualified for that promotion, truly feel it.
Then their perception might shift to align with that. Not just putting on an act, but really being it internally.
Yeah. Exactly. Living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, as he'd say. It's about influencing perception through your own state of consciousness.
Okay. And this whole journey leads to experiencing God as Father. You said that's not just intellectual.
No, absolutely not just agreeing with the doctrine. Goddard emphasizes it's a direct personal experience. He points to John's gospel a lot here.
Like Jesus saying, I and my Father are one.
Right, John 10:30. And think about the reaction. People wanted to stone him. It sounded like blasphemy.
Because they saw him as just a man.
Right.
With a mother and father they knew.
Exactly. Even his own disciple, Philip, later asks, show us the Father. This is in John 14.
And Jesus says,
have I been with you so long, and you still do not know me, Philip? Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. It highlights how hard this is to grasp with just the intellect.
So what's the core idea behind that oneness?
Goddard puts it starkly. There is only God in this world. And then, God became as we are, that we may be as he is.
So, incarnation isn't just about Jesus 2,000 years ago. It's God limiting himself in us so we can eventually realize our own divine nature.
That's his interpretation, a deliberate self-limitation for the sake of our ultimate expansion into him, into fatherhood.
Let's circle back to that olam, eternity, placed in our minds. You mentioned it also means something else in Hebrew.
Yeah, this is fascinating. In the book of Samuel, the same word, olam, is translated as a youth, a stripling, a young man.
Eternity is also a youth. How does that work?
Goddard connects this directly to David. He sees this youth, this olam within the mind, as being David, the son who ultimately reveals the Father.
Okay, this is where his view diverges quite a bit from mainstream Christianity.
It does. Based on his own mystical experiences, he concluded that Jesus Christ is God the Father, and it's David, the eternal youth within, who appears to reveal your fatherhood.
So David is the son who awakens that recognition within the individual.
That's his experience perspective. He uses the story of David and Goliath to illustrate. After David wins, King Saul sees him and asks, whose son is this youth? And nobody seems to know.
Even though David's father, Jesse, was known in the area.
Right. Goddard links this confusion, this question, whose son are you, young man? Directly to that undiscovered olam, that eternal youth hidden within everyone's mind.
The mystery of the inner youth.
Exactly. And he ties this to prophecies like Psalm 2.7, thou art my son, today I have begotten thee. And Psalm 89, which says, God will find David, and David will cry out, thou art my father.
So, for Goddard, these point to the end of the individual's journey, when David appears internally and calls you father.
Yes, that's the moment of full realization, the culmination.
And this makes I am, God's fundamental name, expand to fully include Father.
It's not just a name change, it's an expansion of being. And from that personal experience with the Son, David, comes the real understanding of God's universal fatherhood, and therefore the brotherhood of all humanity.
Not just a nice idea, but a lived reality based on that inner revelation.
Exactly. It stems from the experience itself.
Okay, let's bring this back to the practical again. How can someone listening use this? You mentioned the mind's eye earlier.
Right. It's about actively using your imagination, your inner vision. Visualize someone important in your life, seeing you as you desire to be seen.
So if I want to be seen as confident, I imagine them looking at me and seeing confidence.
Yes. Feel it, assume it, see it reflected in their eyes and your imagination. Remember the little man in the pupil mirroring your state.
Like seeing my own feeling reflected back at me through their imagined perception?
Precisely. He encourages you to practice this, persist in that assumption, that inner seeing. Believe in that unseen reality more than the evidence of your senses right now.
And the idea is that this inner work reshapes the outer reflection.
That's the principle. The inner assumption, held firmly, must eventually manifest outwardly. It's about the creative power of focused imagination.
He also talks about Jacob again, doesn't he? And his name change.
Yes, Jacob means supplanter. Kind of tricky. But after wrestling with the angel, that profound inner shift, his name changes to Israel. He who strives with God, or God strives.
Signifying a total transformation.
Absolutely, like Abram becoming Abraham, father of nations, or Saul, the persecutor, becoming Paul, the apostle. The name change reflects a fundamental change in character, in being.
And he loops this back to the start.
Right, back to, I found Jacob. He's the apple of my eye, and anyone who touches him touches the apple of my eye. The point being, even when you feel like Jacob the supplanter, God sees the potential, sees himself, the Israel to be within you.
God sees the end result, his own expanding image in that little man.
Yes, he sees himself expanding you towards himself.
Goddard even described his own experience of this, didn't he? The culmination.
He did. He spoke of a moment where God the Father exploded within him, an internal event, and instantaneously David appeared before him.
David the youth.
The eternal youth, yeah. He described him as radiating beauty unlike anything earthly. And the immediate knowing was, David's presence proved that he, the speaker, was now God the Father. David was the witness.
Wow, that's profound. He also mentioned something about seeing and knowing.
Yeah, that in Greek, the words for to see and to know are essentially the same. So first you might see this truth in your mind's eye, you grasp it intellectually.
Okay.
But eventually there's an unveiling, a direct, objective knowing, an experience that transcends intellectual understanding. You don't just believe it, you know it because you've seen, you've experienced.
And when you reach that point of clear inner seeing, what changes?
Forgiveness becomes possible, he suggests. Total forgiveness. Because you see everyone not as independent actors doing good or bad, but as arenas where God is working, expanding his own being according to his plan.
Like Philippians 1:6, he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion.
Exactly. You see God as the sole actor, ultimately. And he identifies Jesus Christ not as someone external, but as that completed state within you, the realization of being God the Father. That's the very end, the goal.
It's crucial to him that this isn't just philosophy, right?
Absolutely. He insists these aren't human interpretations or theories about what God should have done. He presents them as revelations, things directly experienced.
He warns against messing with the text, like adding or taking away.
Proverbs 30.6. But he still insists the real meaning isn't just the literal story, it's the deeper psychological, spiritual drama revealed through experience.
He uses a contemporary example, almost as a thought experiment, doesn't he? About the Pope.
Yeah, it's illustrative. He imagines reading in the paper that the Pope confessed to being the brother of Jesus Christ by adoption and also a son of Mary.
Which would be startling, to say the least, for many Catholics.
Hugely startling. His point is to highlight the potential shock and disbelief that meets ideas deviating from established norms. He's drawing a parallel to how shocking his own claims that you are fundamentally I am and destined to realize yourself as God the Father might seem.
It underscores the gap between conventional religious thought and this kind of direct experiential claim.
Exactly. So he comes back again. The Son, David, is the one who reviews you as the Father. He points again to Psalm 2, Hebrews 1, saying, God speaks finally through a son.
And connects David's father, Jesse.
To I am. Jesse essentially means I am. Reinforcing the idea that the Father is self-begotten, revealed through his own Son, who is part of his own being.
And that question from Malachi. A son honors his father. If I am father, where is my honor?
Yes. Goddard sees its fulfillment in the New Testament promise that all things written of Jesus Christ will be fulfilled in you. The honor comes when the Son reveals you as Father.
So let's try and wrap this up, synthesize the core message here.
Okay. At its heart, you are the apple of God's eye, which means literally the pupil, but in Hebrew, the little man of the eye.
The tiny reflection.
Right. God sees himself reflected in you, and he takes you, that reflection, on a journey through stages of understanding his own nature. El Shaddai, I am, El Olam.
Culminating in the direct experience of fatherhood.
And that question from Amos, how can Jacob stand? He's so small. It's resolved because God expands Jacob. He expands your perception of yourself from that small reflection.
All the way to the infinite reality of God the Father.
And the proof, the witness to that final state, is the appearance of David, the eternal youth who calls you Father.
So the whole process involves changing how you see yourself, your attitude of mind, which changes that reflection in the divine eye, leading ultimately to this incredible revelation.
That's the journey Goddard maps out, from the little man to the universal Father.
Okay, you are the apple of God's eye.
Yeah.
Thinking about that now, after going through Goddard's perspective, it hits differently, doesn't it?
It really does. It's not just a term of endearment anymore. It's packed with immense meaning about identity and potential.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. If God truly sees only himself reflected in you, what does that actually mean for how you see yourself?
Yeah, and how you see others. What possibilities open up if that little man, that divine spark, is always there waiting to be expanded? Something profound to reflect on, definitely.